Costa Crociere S.p.A. is an Italian cruise company established in 1854 by Giacomo Costa, with headquarters in Genoa. It is the Italian company leader of Italian and European cruises. It owns the biggest fleet among European companies, with a total of 25 ships in service. Its ships operate in the Mediterranean Sea, Northern Europe, the Caribbean, Africa, Southern America, the Orient, the Indian Ocean. The tour assistant is a person who operates on board of cruise ships. His work takes place in two different places, on board and ashore. On board, he works in the tour office, in which he organizes, plans and sells tours. He suggests and tries to satisfy the needs and tastes of passengers, and eventually he reports possible complaints and undesirable critical points to the tour manager, who is his superior. While ashore, he escorts and follows the passengers for the entire duration of the tour, guided by a local tourist guide who gives essential historical and cultural notions of the visited places. The tour assistant has two types of uniforms. On board he wears a blue jacket and blue trousers, and a blue skirt for women, while on tour he wears an orange polo and blue trousers for comfort reasons. In addition, it is mandatory to wear the name badge and the Costa Crociere pin. The crew card is a magnetic card. Each person of the crew must always has on board and ashore. It is the equivalent of an ID on board, and it is indispensable for purchases at restaurants, bars, shops, etc., and for disembarkation and embarkation. The tour assistant has to know the expected tours during the ship's itinerary, that can be consulted on the tour magazine. The booklet where are reported all the information of the tours, as well the duration, the cost, and for which kind of passenger are suggested for young people, families, the elderly, sports people, etc. He sells excursions using SAPI, the booking system on board. The tasks of the tour assistant on tour can be divided into three different moments: on the coach, on tour and at the restaurant. On the coach, the tour assistant has to check that all the passengers who have bought that excursion are there, and also he has to check the hygienic conditions of the coach, which has to be equipped with the first aid kit and a fire extinguisher in case of emergency. On tour, the tour assistant is responsible of the excursion, and he collaborates with the tourist guide. In particular, he has to assure that the tour's program will be fulfilled. He also intervenes as a translator and a linguistic mediator if the tourist guide is unable to express himself correctly. At the restaurant, the tour assistant has to check the facility, its staff, the cleaning, the food quality, and the menu that has to be the same as set in the excursion program. At the end of the excursion, he fills the tour assistant report, through which the tour assistant can provide feedback and offers suggestions about the tour to improve the quality of the excursion. Tours are services offered to cruise guests in every port of call during the ship itinerary. The most common types of tours are historical and cultural tour, dedicated to history, culture and local traditions; sightseeing, It is primarily a coach excursion with an emphasis on sightseeing and very little activity. Shopping tour, dedicated to shopping enthusiasts. Sport tour, for the adventurous and sport lovers. Bike, trekking and kayak tours. Tour recommended for families, includes activities appropriate for families traveling with children. Natural tour, dedicated to nature lovers. Disability tour, indicates tour that can accommodate guests who use a wheelchair. Tasting tour, dedicated to guests wishing to delight their palates in the best restaurants tasting local food. The life on board is completely different from the life ashore. The tour assistant has to be a dynamic and positive person. He works and lives in the same environment that shares with colleagues and guests. The working environment is more cramped and enclosed in terms of space. Furthermore, he has to speak fluently English and at least other two foreign languages, have a good general knowledge, strong organizational skills, and be passionate for travels. He has to be able to work under stress and adapt himself to a working rhythm without schedule. Even private life is affected because a tour assistant is long periods away from home, family and friends. It is not a job for whoever. For this reason, those who decide to undertake this career must have a strong personality and be really motivated. I did my training on the ship Costa Fascinosa, docked in the port of Civitavecchia. Costa Fascinosa is a ship built in 2011 with a capacity of 3,800 guests. Its environments, enriched with precious materials, are inspired by the masterpieces of cinema and theatre. The itinerary of the ship starts from Savona, going then to Civitavecchia, Palermo, Ibiza, Majorca, and eventually Barcelona. From Civitavecchia I went to Rome with the guests and the tourist guide by the so-called Roma Express, that is an exclusive and elegant train which is reserved for cruise passengers. The name of the tour was Sacred and Eternal City Rome, which consisted in the visit of the Basilica of St. John Lateran, the Sancta Sanctorum Chapel, and the Basilica of St. Peter. The guests were from the United Kingdom and France.